you going? Just get rid of this. Matt. Well got, mate. That's AFL, Australian Rules Football, equivalent to your NFL. That's what I used to play, professional football. Ever since I was a little boy, all I wanted to do was play AFL football. That's all I wanted to do. At the age of 15, I was drafted to the Essendon Football Club franchise. At the age of 17, I played my first professional game of football for the Essendon franchise. Over the years, I ended up at another two franchises. One was the Richmond Football Club, and I finished up at the Sydney Swans Football Club. I remember at the Sydney Swans, I had come to the stage where before I'd play a game of that, I'd sit in the toilets. My teammates were warming up. I'd sit in the toilets. I'd be crying before I had to go and play football. The physical demands, the mental stress was enough as it was. I was crying. Then I'd have to get up and warm up with my teammates and get ready for the game to go out and play that brutal game. I'd come off the ground physically, mentally exhausted, probably 10 times fold than what I normally should have been. After a period of time, I couldn't take it any longer. I couldn't play footy any longer. I didn't like it. I hated the abuse from the coaches, everything. I couldn't handle it any longer. I retired. I retired at the age of 28 after a 13-year career. 28. So that's, that much of your life. I've got this much to live. Little did I know at the time, though, I retired. I wasn't injured. I retired because I suffered from depression and bipolar. That's why I retired. After that, all of a sudden one day, I had everything. The next day, I had nothing. It was gone. It was gone. And then, one thing I had time on my hands. All of a sudden, I had time. There was no structure in my life. I didn't have to be anywhere at a certain time. I didn't have to train. I didn't have to keep fit. I was out of the club. I was gone. I was finished. I began to do things you couldn't do when you're a professional player. I go out on the weekends. I started drinking. I started drinking during the week. Then on the weekends, I started taking cocaine. And I thought, well, I'm only doing it on the weekends, taking coke. But if you take coke, so I'm only doing it socially. But if you're going to take coke, drugs, whatever it is, that's not social. If you're going to take them, you're going to take them. Simple as that. Whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't matter. It's bullshit. So, my family, I started drinking and drugging. And what happens when you get into my life and my predicament that I got myself into in my life? My family, my friends, my loved ones, they were all over here and I got rid of them. And I'm over this side over here. I'm with bikies, strippers, drug dealers, criminals. They were my friends. I loved the life. I was enjoying the life. It was exciting for me. Doing all the drug deals, all the bullshit, code talk and all the rest of it. It got to the stage, I'll tell you what I had for breakfast with my drug habit. I became a full-blown alcoholic and a full-blown drug addict. Fully blown. I'll tell you what I'd have for breakfast when I wake up. I get up in the morning, I'd have 4 lines of cocaine and 4 shots of vodka for breakfast. That was to get me going for the day. And by this time, it was a professional job. I was a professional businessman. So I'd go and see clients at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was already drunk and high. My first phone call was my drug dealer. I go and meet him in a pub or a bar at about midday. I get me Coke. By this time, I'm taking ice as well. So I get me Coke, I get me ice, whatever he brought me, didn't matter. So I'd sit there and drink and start doing drugs. And then as the day went on, I'd go from bar to bar to bar, to a different pub, till late at night. And I'd end up by the time I got home, it was like I made sure I'd have a bottle of vodka, I'd have a bag of cocaine. I'd probably met the drug dealer 3 or 4 times during the day, the same bloke. I'd get home, I'd drink the vodka, I'd have the Coke, but I made sure that I'd save enough Coke for breakfast in the morning and vodka so I could have breakfast. I'd take a handful of sleeping pills, I'd get a few hours sleep, and I'd get up the next day and I'd do the whole thing all over again. I'd bring out on a 2 or 3 day bender. I get a phone call, and it ended up being an intervention phone call. One of my old football teammates, Barry Mitchell, he rings me up and he said, Wally, they call me Wally, that's my nickname. He said, Wally, do you want to go and see a doctor? And I was pretty shabby at the time, been out for about 3 days straight. I said, yes, I do. He said, okay, I'll pick you up in the morning. Comes and picks me up in the morning, takes me to the doctor. I sit down, the doctor sits across from me. He sat down, he looked at me, he said, Mark, do you want to go to rehab? And I said, yes, I do. And that was it. But the problem is, by this time, I've got nothing left. Because what I was doing, it's not a cheap habit. It's cost me a fortune. I'd lost everything by this time. I had 4 houses. They were gone. Everything was gone. So I had no health insurance, anything. But then my family, my friends, my football community, they bounded together to help me, to support me. And they got together to raise the money for me to go to rehab. $28,000. But the thing is, I said I was going to go to rehab, but to raise that money, it was going to take 2 weeks, a couple of weeks. I said I was going to go to rehab, but I wasn't going to give up doing drugs. So I just kept going on my merry way. I'm chalking up debts with drug dealers and a whole lot. I'll tell you one thing, if you're buying drugs off a drug dealer, they're your friends. As soon as you owe them money, they're your enemies. I'll tell you what, you won't want to have a drug dealer as your enemy. It's not a good space to be in. I'll tell you that. Anyway, finally, I get a phone call from Mary Williams, one of my angels in my life that helped me, and her husband, Greg Williams, Diesel, I used to play footy with. And they said, Mark, you've got to be in rehab. We've got your bed on the Sunday. This is on the Friday. I said, you've got to get there on Sunday. I said, okay. They said, are you going to be there? I said, yes, I'll be there. So we're going to pick up at your house in the morning. I said, I'll be there, I promise. So on the Friday, I go out. I had every drug in Melbourne you could take. Coke, ecstasy, ice, drank, everything. I went crazy for 2 days. I get back home, whatever time in the morning it was, 8 o'clock or something. I'm high, I'm drunk. I had my last bit of Coke, last bit of vodka or beer or whatever I had. Anyway, I packed a suitcase. And for some reason, there was a footy sitting in the cupboard. And I grabbed the footy and put it under my arm. Must have been some sort of security blanket for me. Anyway, Mary comes and picks me up and off we go to rehab. And on Sundays at rehab, where I was, it's family day. Obviously, all your loved ones go and see their people that are in the rehab. And what happens is they shut the front of the building, so you can't get through the front door. So I had to go through a back courtyard to get in. And that's where they were having their barbecue and their function with their loved ones. I get dropped off. I grab my suitcase. I was there at 10 o'clock. I grabbed my suitcase. I grabbed the footy under my arm. And then I opened the gate. And as I opened this gate, there was about 50 people in the courtyard. They all turned around and looked at me all at the same time. It was the worst thing. The feeling that went through my body of what I did to my fucking self and my family, how I fucked my life up and hurt everybody else, and what I put in my body, it all hit me all at once. I couldn't believe it, what I'd done to myself. 15 years of drug abuse and alcohol abuse, what I'd done and turned myself into. I went and got a medical. They checked me out. My face was grey, my lips were purple. I was dying. I had 2 to 3 days to live. And I had to detox. I tell you what, if anyone thinks about picking up a line of Coke or whatever, just think about detoxing. It's not something you want to do. It's horrendous. So I did that, and I get out of the 28 days goes in rehab. Obviously, I haven't had a drink or whatever it may be. And I'm starting to feel better. Bit of exercise in there, therapy, food, sleep. Shit, I didn't go to sleep for about 15 years. I was pretty tired. And by the way, what I did, I'm not proud of myself for doing it. I did it all myself. No one held me down and put the coke up my nose. It was my fault. I did it to myself. And then I get out of rehab. I walk out of the rehab with my bag. I know, I left the footy there. It's probably still there now, today. I get home. I get picked up. I walked out of rehab. I had no car. I had no licence. I had no money. I'd lost 4 houses. I had nowhere to live. I had no job. I had no love in my life. I had a son that didn't speak to me. I had nothing. I had to go stay at my mum's place. I had dropped off at my mother's place. I walk into the bedroom. I put down the suitcase. I thought, what am I going to do? I thought, I've got 2 ways to go here. I've got a decision to make. There's 2 options. I'll go over here. I'll go down to my local pub, and they'll give me a tab over the bar, and I'll start drinking again. Not a problem. And I'll ring up the drug dealer, and they'll put me on the tab again. I'll be in their debt. I could have done that in a heartbeat. Or I'll go over here, and I'll fight it. I come back here, and I chose to fight it. Then the AFL Players Association come to my rescue. Again, more support from loved ones in the football community. They come to support me. They got me a psychiatrist. And he diagnosed me with depression and bipolar. 25 years undiagnosed through a football career. Business, life, etc. Put me on medication. I spent 40 weeks in a mental health institution. Electric shock treatment in my head. ECT treatment. I can't think of how many times I had it. I was a mess. And while I was in there, my friends, my support, my family, they got me this little apartment that they put together, and they got people to donate furniture, and they got me somewhere where I could live rent-free. They raised rent money for me, the whole lot, so I could come out of there and I'd had somewhere to live. The apartment was about as big as this carpet, but I had somewhere, I had a roof over my head. And it took, though, my body, I'd harmed myself so much, it took me 8 years to recover. A, I was unemployable. B, I couldn't work. I put on 25 kilos. I sat there, I was a recluse. I couldn't speak to anyone. I couldn't socialise. I was worthless. 8 years I sat there and I did nothing. I might as well have been in jail. Finally, after 8 years, I managed to get a job. I worked at Woolworths, which is like Walmart, stacking pallets 6 days a week, shift work. But, 6 shifts a week. I used to drive from the other side of town in the middle of winter at midnight on a Sunday night. It was terrible. But it was the best thing that I ever did. It put me back into society. I had to be somewhere. I had some discipline. I had to clock on. I had to go and do a job. I interacted with people. I got to meet some friends. I started coming out myself. And I started to earn some money, which is pretty handy as well. During that period of time while I was there, I never missed a day and I was never late. That period of time, I was lucky enough, I was invited to go on one of the major football shows in Australia on Foxtel. And I had an interview and told my story. I had a good response from it, from the audience. And I have another very good friend of mine, close friend, ex-Essendon teammate, Simon Madden. You can Google all these people later. Simon Madden, he works in this space, what I do. He said, do you want to go out and do a couple of talks, Wally? I said, I can't do that. He said, what about a couple of Q&As? So I went out with him and did a couple of Q&As, and I went quite well. Anyway, I remember at work one day I clocked off. I've been there for 17 months doing the pallet stacking stuff. I clocked off and I said, that's it. That part of my life, I had to do it. I had to get through that part of life, but it's time to move on to something else. I was ready to go and do something else. Ready to move on with my life. Simon said, okay, we'll get out to the speaking circuit and get you out there up and going. I had no idea what to do or what I was going to say. Anyway, so I left the job and everything. Fucking Simon, I didn't get a job for 4 months. Lost all my money. I went broke again. I said, what are you doing to me? You're killing me. But anyway, that was about 4 years ago now. That happened. What I'm on at the moment, I'm on a journey. This is a journey for me. It's never going to stop for me until I die. I'm on this journey. I urge those out there in the crowd today, everybody and your friends and your family that aren't here, if you're not feeling well, if you think something's wrong with a friend, you've got to talk. There shouldn't be any stigma. You've got to talk to friends. Talk to your friends, your family. The girl at the bloody checkout point at Kmart or wherever it is. Anyone. Talk about it. Go and get help. Go and get support. You've got to do it. And you've got to stay strong. There's no weakness in reaching out. Only strength in finding support. In my journey now, I'll tell you where I'm at. This is where my journey's at the moment. It's pretty good, actually, at the minute. I've got a car. I've had for some time, obviously. I've got a license to drive the car, which is good. You need that. I've got love in my life again. Bit of a clap for that. That's always good. I've got a job. This is what I do for a job. So I've got a job. I bought myself an apartment. So I've got somewhere to live. Unfortunately, my son still doesn't talk to me. It's been years now. Things happen like that because of me or my fault. I wouldn't speak to me either. I've started up back in Australia a foundation called Regain Life Focus on mental health and addiction, helping others. I'm passionate about helping others and to a voice to not go through what I put myself through. I don't want that for anyone else. And there's so many people that are doing so at the moment. But the biggest achievement, which I will continue to work on for the rest of my life, till the day I die, from the time that day I walked into that courtyard, into that barbecue, I've now been clean and sober I've now been clean and sober for 12 years, and 11 months. Thank you.